All right, so what I'm going to do is I've already got a lot of code, not a lot, but I've got some code here that it was going to take me too long to type in while you watch. So I went ahead and pre-typed it and just going to talk about it and let you follow along. So what I have is we're going to start dealing with arrays, and which is going to mimic a database read. But anyway, I have an array here. It's called items, and there's a keyword array with an open and closed parentheses and a semicolon at the end. This could all be one big long line, but instead it formats a little bit easier, a little bit more user-friendly if I do it in this fashion. But so this is called an associative array, and here we don't use indexes. If I were running PHP as just a server script without a browser, in other words, without the web server, then I would use indexed arrays a lot more and that sort of thing. But since this is web-based, then normally I use a lot of associative arrays. And the way that works is this is a key value pair. So a key with a value and an equal and a greater than sign looks a lot like a pointer. And so that points to its value. So you have a key value pair, all right? And this could simulate, just I made up some numbers here to simulate a part number and then a description, if you will. And now I want to show it on the page. So this is what I want it to look like here. And so as you can see, I've got a part number, a description, and then some check boxes over here to get some more information. Okay, if I check one or two of these and hit submit, then it takes me to a page with a long description along with that part number. All right, so how do we do that? So let's take a closer look. So I have my CSS I've included here. Of course, that's nothing new. All of this is HTML. The only PHP I have besides the array on this page is this right here. And let's take a look at it. So in the form, I call my other page I want to go to, right? And so along with that, I have just plain HTML, create a table with the first row, which is my header row. All right, so there again, it's plain old HTML. Then I have an end row down here where I have a submit button in the first column. I could have put it in the last. And then two empty columns. So that leaves the PHP in this for loop to create all of my other columns for me in a for each loop. Okay, once again, my for each I use mostly on websites. Rarely do I use a while or a for, just because a for each works with arrays and with database data sets that comes back from the database read really well, so we'll get used to using these. The way it works is a for each loops over this array called items right here. It loops over the array one item at a time and defines a key value pair. I could have called these anything. I just called it part number and description because it makes sense. And it pulls them out one row at a time. So as I go through this iteration of the for loop, it'll pull this out first, then this out the second iteration, and the third iteration, it pulls this last one out. All right. And then outputs that through the echoes into another row. So every time through the loop, I create a row. And then I put into these two columns, and then a third column over here is my checkbox. All right. I've noticed my checkbox. I'm going to have a name that changes every time. So every new input checkbox actually has a name that is the part number that that is created out of this array here. Okay, and then just some plain text, check for more information. Okay, and that's the end of that TD there. It might make more sense to do something like this. So I left this in here because some people try to use a hidden field in here, and that's almost always a bad idea. So let's take this out. You don't really need a hidden field to pass anything. Let's just use what we already know here. All right, so I'm going to push these over to make it make a little bit more sense. And then I'm going to save that. Get rid of myself here. Save that. And then when that hits submit, then I send this information over over to the next page, right? Over to this page here. So I'm going to go to my browser. Let's refresh this. Send it over with these two items checked. And what you don't see here, because it's underneath the this thing, if I can get rid of it. There. And so you'll see that it sends the part number and the fact that that checkbox has been checked. The part number and the checkbox has been checked. That all goes across in the get. I use get intentionally here to let you see what's moving to the server. All right, so let's just take a look at this page and see how it works. So back over to my PHP Storm. Let's pull up my second page here, and at the top I have something that you haven't seen before, and so this is a redirect. Okay, so let's see how that works. Let's come over here and get rid of my get information and just hit enter. Okay, and let's see here. Go over, get rid of this again, hit enter, and it's not redirecting. I'll have to look into to see why it's not doing that. All right, so if not, if that is set, you know what I need to do? I need to look for an item in here. So that was my bonehead move there. So submit. Let's see if that works now. Save that. Go back over. Hit enter. And now. So I was not doing my check properly. If I go over with any sort of information at all, then it will not redirect. If I come into the page and land on this page without first going through the other page, the previous page, foodbar.php, then it redirects me back to that page. So that's a sort of a slick little item there. Once again, up here at the top, and we'll talk about this in class some more, if this is not set, then I use a header function to load the location of the previous page, and then exit this page. The exit is important. You don't have to always use it, but it's always just good programming practice to put that in there to make sure nothing else executes on this page. It'll exit the page. Then I have another array here. Here again, this will simulate reading hanging another database read with a part number and then just a long description or detailed description out here. Okay, so other than that, this page is pretty simple. I go into my HTML, link in my CSS, then create my table again, just like the previous page, create the header row, and then I have another for each, and look through the get array. It's a get array and a post array and a session and the cookie array, and all these super globals are associative arrays, the key value pair. Well, here again, that when I send over, rather what's up here and the get comes over, I have a key value, which is a part number and a detail. Okay, so I pull, I check, first off, I don't want to display this. Let me see, I'll show you what happens if I don't check for this. Comment this out, load this. I'm just going to go through the get array, each part number and details, and then display the part number and details. But the details here, I'm sorry, the part number here is the key that I can look up an associative array. That's how I look up a value, as a key, by supplying a key, and instead of an index inside of my open close brackets, I supply the key, and the key will return the details. So if I run this, upload it, Back over to here, and let's hit a couple of these. And I'm going to send over 4, 3, 2, 1 and ABCD. And now you'll see here what happens. Pull them out of the get array and show the details. So this is a key value pair of my array. There's another key value pair of the array. But look here, here's a submit down at the bottom. And that's because the submit is part of the key value that comes over in the get. All right, so if I come back over here and I look at this code that I commented out, and that's what I'm doing is I'm looking for that get value to have a submit. In other words, this part number that comes back from the get on each for loop here that pulls the key value pair from the get array, I look to that key to see if it is submit. And I uppercase it so I don't have to worry about it being either lowercase or uppercase. If it's not equal to submit, show it. If it is equal to submit, I don't want to show just submit down at the bottom. That makes no sense at all. All right. So that's it for this one.